insane. I am deeply suspicious. To lose one's teeth is a catastrophe.
Don't let the wheelchair fool you. Angela Lansbury is as fit and feisty as ever.
Oh, don't squeeze your bosoms up against the chair, dear. It'll stunt their growth.
And she's in a familiar place, starring on Broadway in the revival of Stephen Sondheim's classic, A Little Night Music.
Do you ever feel like, gee, I've had an amazing career, I've worked my tail off, I'm ready to relax a little?
The bottom line is I really don't know how to relax to the degree that I could just stop. So when something comes along and is presented to me and I think, gee, I could have some fun doing that, or I think I can bring something to that, I'll do it.
Ordinary daughters ameliorate their lot.
Doing it means a possible 6th Tony Award for Best Actress. And for this 84-year-old class act, 8 shows a week.
I mean, there are times when you walk in that dressing room and you think, I can't do this. I cannot do this. And it's a curious thing, when you sit down in front of that mirror and you pick up that first piece of makeup and you start to apply it, you see how I immediately go under the eyes.
Me too.
First thing, yes. And suddenly you transform yourself into that person who is capable of going on stage and delivering that performance, you know.
To life!
For A Little Night Music, she transforms herself nightly into the elegant Swedish matriarch, Madame Armfeld.
And to the only other reality, death.
A self-aggrandizing grande dame.
Was it her humor and her joie de vivre that attracted you?
Well, certainly I thought her history was so interesting. Here was a woman who in her youth had been a great courtesan and had bedded the kings of Europe and reared this daughter, played by Catherine Zeta-Jones.
I was wondering if you would invite some people here next weekend.
Well, if they're actors, they'll have to sleep in the stables.
If only she were a little more attractive.
I know. Isn't it a shame? If only. We are naughty, aren't we?
Open a new window, open a new door.
While industry doors have slammed shut for most actresses her age, Angela Lansbury is still traveling along the only highway she's ever known.
This is the only thing that I really know how to do. And I think that is the reason that I've stayed with that all my life.
The daughter of an Irish actress, her father died when she was 9. Her English grandfather, controversial and charismatic, was a major influence.
He apparently is better known in England than you? Is
Yes,
that true?
Absolutely true. He was the leader of the Labour Party. He was a great pacifist, and he certainly was a champion of women.
Her mother sent her to drama school, first in London, then in New York, and ultimately Hollywood. Her first role was the flirtatious Cockney maid in the 1944 MGM thriller Gaslight. She was only 17.
You know, Nancy, it strikes me that you're not at all the kind of girl that your mistress should have for a housemaid.
No, sir. She's not the only one in the house, is she?
The director, George Cukor,
Yes.
was appalled that a woman your age could pull off playing such a convincing seductress.
I know, isn't that curious? Because you'd think I'd been around the block, as they say. I hadn't. You know, I really hadn't. And
I'm
yet
happy
I
to
knew
hear that.
Yeah, no.
But being cast in roles beyond her years would become the story of her life. Despite back-to-back Oscar nominations for Gaslight and The Picture of Dorian Gray, she'd spent her 20s and 30s hopelessly typecast.
I am Valerie's mother. I know she's there.
As everyone's mother.
Oh, we were just talking about your party, son.
What party?
Even though she was only 9 years older than Elvis when they made Blue Hawaii, and only 3 years older than Lawrence Harvey when she played his manipulative mother in the cult classic, The Manchurian Candidate.
I told them to build me an assassin. I wanted a killer from a world filled with killers, and they chose you.
But her uncanny knack for playing a domineering dame kept Lansbury from making it to leading lady.
What were some of the roles that got away?
There was a movie called The Three Musketeers with Gene Kelly, you know, and Lana Turner. I would have liked to play the Lana Turner role because it was such a good part. But no, I had to play the Queen of France, and who was an older woman. And I was still very, very young at the time.
How old were you then?
I was probably 20.
And you're playing the older woman?
The older Queen of France.
Frustrated with Hollywood, Lansbury set her sights on the stage. And when she hit a trifecta of Tonys for Maine, Dear World, and Gypsy, everything really was coming up roses.
Do you see Broadway as an oasis away from the limits that were imposed on you in Hollywood?
Oh, no question about it. I felt liberated the minute I came to Broadway.
What you rush, what you hurry.
The roles kept coming, and a theatrical love affair with Stephen Sondheim was sealed when she played Nellie Lovett.
Did you come in for a pie, sir?
Lansbury calls the mischievous meat pie maker in the macabre musical Sweeney Todd her favorite role of all. But the one she's perhaps most identified with is that mystery writing amateur sleuth, Jessica Fletcher.
A button actually did trip up a killer. All I needed was a body, you know, a crime, and I was off and running.
Right there, honey. Don't move.
Murder, She Wrote kept on running and running and running for 12 seasons here on CBS, making it the longest-running detective drama series in history and making her one of pop culture's few older female role models.
You have said when women get older, they become invisible. They lose their place in society.
Mm-hmm.
Did you feel that at any point, and how were you able to fight that?
By working and doing what I do. And I really only come to life, I think, when I'm working. My whole modus operandi has been work and family, really those two.
A notorious homebody, Lansbury says she often had to be convinced to leave her life of domestic tranquility by her husband, former actor Peter Shaw, who was also her manager. When he died of heart failure in 2003, Lansbury lost both her business and life partner of 53 years.
It was a period of huge adjustment for me to work without him and not to have that backup and have that person that you can go home and talk about it to, you know? Not having that is the worst part of losing a mate, it really is.
Work has been her saving grace, as has the time she spent as a spokesperson for the ALS Association.
Better known as Lou Gehrig's disease. Know this, it attacks your body.
A neurological disease that claimed the life of her sister, Isolde.
Makes you feel good to do something that sort of touches so many people.
Well,
and
it does.
Can help.
It does, and it's a way for me to pay back
all the gifts you've been given.
Yes. We don't know how lucky we are until we lose our health, and so many people are not prepared for that.
One thing Lansbury's not prepared for is retirement, and she still views her film career as a piece of unfinished business.
I'd really like to do one great movie before I pass along the way. Liaison! What happened to them?
Should any casting agents be interested, you know where to find her. The place Angela Lansbury can always call home.
Until the next role comes along.
Until that phone call comes in or that letter arrives.